Mistakes was the best way for me to learn about business. Although I did not make much money, I realized that the smarter I became by failing and learning from those failures, the richer I would become. Today, in business, I will often do something knowing I might fail. Why? Because at the age of 9, I learned that failing was essential to succeeding. There are two primary reasons why entrepreneurs fail. One is that the would-be entrepreneurs are so afraid of failing that they freeze and then do nothing. They get up and go to work, always with some excuse why they are not ready to quit their jobs and start their businesses. The usual excuses include not enough money, too risky, the time is not right, kids to feed, and many others. The second reason entrepreneurs fail is that they do not fail enough. Many small business owners and self-employed business owners succeed to a point and then stop growing. The business plateaus or begins to die. The business reaches a certain size and then fails to grow. Once again, the entrepreneur needs to risk failing before the business can begin growing. Fear of failing is the primary reason why so many people do not succeed in life or are not as successful as they would like to be. This occurs not only in business, but in all aspects of life. I remember in high school never going on a date because I was so afraid of being rejected. Finally, just before graduating, I asked a beautiful classmate for a date to the senior prom. To my surprise, she said yes. We had a miserable time, but at least I was making progress. Another difference between an employee and an entrepreneur. Recently, during a radio interview, I was called a risk taker by a radio host. I replied, "In today's rapidly changing world, the people who are not taking risks are the risk takers. People who are not taking risks are falling behind." The program was a half-hour show that regularly interviewed different people from different walks of life. The show could have been called The Secret to My Success. When the host asked me for my secret, I told her about my first business failure at the age of 9 and how that failure led to the success of my second business. I then said, I realized that failing was the way to success. "You learned this at 9?" the host asked. "That's correct," I replied. "Like most people, I do not like failing. I hate it. Yet, that business failure early in life gave me a glimpse into the future. I saw my process for success. Some people get ahead by knowing all the right answers. Those people generally do well in school. That is not my process. I get ahead by failing. That is why I have started so many different businesses. More have failed than succeeded, yet the ones that have succeeded have been pretty big successes, like the success of my real estate company, the 2 public gold and silver mining companies I helped found, and the Rich Dad Company. Also, I did not make much money early in my career as an entrepreneur, but now, later in life, I make more money than most people. So, the secret to your business success is being willing to make mistakes and then learning from them. Yes, that is my job as an entrepreneur. My job is to set new goals, create a plan, make mistakes, and risk failing. The more mistakes I make, the smarter I become. Hopefully, the company grows and prospers from the lessons learned. "I'd get fired if I made too many mistakes on the job," replied the radio interviewer. "To me, making mistakes and failing is failing. I do everything possible not to make mistakes. I hate making mistakes. I hate feeling stupid. I must know the answers. I feel it is important to do everything the way the company tells me to do it." "And that is why you are a good employee," I replied kindly. Employees are hired to not make mistakes. An employee's job is to follow the rules, do as they are told, and do their job the right way. If employees want to do things their own way, or do not follow the rules or make too many mistakes, they are fired because they are not doing the job they were hired to do. So my job as an employee is to not take risks, and your job as an entrepreneur is to take risks, to make mistakes, and to sometimes fail. Is that what you are saying? Yes, I replied. That difference is the key difference between an entrepreneur and an employee. So you take risks. Is that what you do as an entrepreneur? No, not quite, I said, chuckling. I don't randomly take any risk that comes along. First of all, I had to learn the science of making mistakes and learning from mistakes. Second, I had to learn how to choose the risks I took. The better my skills as an entrepreneur became, the better my judgment at taking calculated risks. Today, I look at taking risks as part of my job. Failing is not fun, but it is necessary for progress. So, do you like failing? Asked the host. No, on the contrary, I hate failing as much as the next person. The difference is, I know that failing is part of the process of my business's success. The moment I fail, I know I am at the point of a breakthrough in learning. It's the point where the new me emerges. The new you, shrieked the radio host. What kind of hocus pocus is that? Well, I replied slowly, we have all experienced this new me experience. For example, when we were babies and could not walk, we stood and fell, stood and fell. Then one day we stopped falling and began to walk. The moment we could walk, we were no longer babies. People called us children, not babies. When we learned to drive a car, we became young adults. Each time we learned a new skill, a new person emerged and our worlds changed. That is what I mean by a new you or a new me. We are new because we have new skills and are better able to face a new world. So there is a world of difference between an employee and an entrepreneur? Asked the host sarcastically. Oh, absolutely, I replied, working hard not to get caught up in her skepticism. We live in very different worlds because we are very different people. One of us lives in a world that thrives on risk. The other lives in a world that avoids risk. Different worlds, different people. There was silence for a moment. The host seemed to be gathering her thoughts. And that is why so many employees do not make it as entrepreneurs? It's one of the reasons, but not the only reason, I said gently. It's not easy transitioning from a world of avoiding mistakes to a world of actively making mistakes. But you make it sound easy, said the host. You seem so nonchalant about failing. I never said it was easy, but it does get easier, I replied. Look, the point is entrepreneurs have a lot to learn and need to learn quickly. They don't have the luxury of a steady paycheck. They must make mistakes and correct quickly. If entrepreneurs avoid making mistakes, or if they pretend they haven't made a mistake or blame someone else for their mistakes, the learning process will overwhelm the entrepreneur and the business fails. You have to learn quickly because you're making something out of nothing, added the host. There is nothing there to support you. Especially in the beginning of your development as an entrepreneur, yet, as you get better, you can go from nothing to something very quickly. One of the great joys of being an entrepreneur is the ability to take an idea and turn that idea into a successful business in a short period of time. Centuries ago, alchemists were trying to turn lead into gold. An entrepreneur's job is to turn an idea into gold. It's almost money for nothing, said the radio host. Almost, I replied. If you can do that, you'll never need a job. You can go just about anywhere you want in the world and strike it rich. I do business in over 80 countries. One of my mining companies operates in China, and the other operates in South America. An employee or a self-employed person's scope of business is often limited to a town, state, or country. So it is a different world, conceded the host. Yes, I replied. That is the world of an entrepreneur. If you are good, you are free to travel the world and do business. Most employees need to apply for a work visa before they can work in another country. An entrepreneur may enter a country as a corporation or form a joint venture with another corporation in that country. Training yourself to be an entrepreneur is developing your potential to access a world of nearly unlimited wealth. And to do that, you need to learn to turn your failures into successes. That's correct, I replied. And what if you fail and lose money? She asked. It's just part of being an entrepreneur. I do not know many entrepreneurs who have not lost money at one time or another. But if an employee lost the company's money, the employee would be fired, said the host with an edge in her voice. In many companies they would be, I replied quietly. My point is that it is the fear of losing money that costs people the most money. They are so afraid of losing, they lose. They settle for a steady paycheck. They may not lose much money in their life, but they lose out on the potential for great wealth. Truth during the commercial break. I need to take a commercial break, said the host as she shut down the studio. The sound engineer then took over and began to play the commercials that supported the show. I've wanted to quit my job for years, said the host, feeling safer in her soundproof room and not broadcasting to the world. But you are paid too much